morning, everyone. Who is ready to see some flowers?
It is time for our tulip tour of 2025.
We're so excited. Everything's so beautiful. We've been a little apprehensive, I guess, about showing them because the last few weeks they have been so gorgeous and they're just about to go out. But this morning we woke up and it is a beautiful day and we're going to get ready for our tulip party, which is later today. But before we do that, we're going to walk around the garden and give you guys a little tour.
Okay, we're gonna start up front here under our beautiful oak tree. So we have 500 of the Vidal tulip blend in here, and they are on their way out, but they have been really, really glorious. What we love about planting blends like this under the oak tree is that you kind of get a longer bloom period, but less blooms, I guess, if you will, because they're rarely all in bloom at once. So you'll get like one variety that comes up very early, and then we get kind of like a mid bloom, and then we have some that are late, which you can see here are these big white ones. These came up last. But there's some frilly ones in here. There's some that have like a green stripe on them, which is really cool. But the white is just really striking and bright right here under the oak tree. You gotta see this side too. There's just a bunch of perennials in here that are starting to wake up. We've got the pinka-blue lungwort in here. There's some heuchera, there's the eclipse hydrangeas, which are really dark and beautiful. Some ligularia, just a bunch of stuff in here that's gonna be bursting with color if it isn't already, which is really fun. So let's head up to the front of the house and we'll show you what we have planted up here. So up here we have 100 of the cabana tulips. This is another one that bloomed very early for us. And we did also get some heavy rain last weekend, so I think that kind of pushed them on their way out. But we still got some beautiful color here, and they are just big, fat blooms. We've got a nice, well, here we go. This one's falling apart in my hand. So we have some really nice white with pink edges, which we just love. And what I love is that we've got the white violas here planted beneath, which kind of ties into the oak tree. And then these are mostly white with just a little bit of pink, which gives you kind of that connection to both flower beds, but a little bit something different up front here, which is nice. I think we could do more up here next year. I would love to see maybe 250. Brian is like looking concerned behind the camera. I don't know, I just would love to see a bigger show up here next year, but that's gardening, right? You live and learn, but it's still beautiful and a really nice welcoming sight for our guests. So let's head to the back where you're gonna be amazed, trust me. All right, here we go. This is like tulip heaven. This is like the money shot for me. Just walking in and having the hollies on the left and the tulips just kind of flanking both sides of the path. It just is so magical. So the white tulips that you see here are Clearwater, and I think this is probably one of our favorite varieties. You can see they're very tall, I would say probably about 2 feet tall, big fat white blooms, and they last for a long time. We've planted this one, I think this is our 3rd time planting it, obviously not in this area. We've planted it in other areas in the garden, but it's just a beautiful blend. And while it does feel simple, the blooms are so big, it's just very striking, especially from far away. So we've got, I think we did 100 on this side and 50 on this side, kind of dotted in between the agapanthus. And here in the box, oh my gosh, we've never planted this variety before. These are the Akebono tulips. Now this one is very popular online, and you can see why. We've just got such variety in every bloom. They're all a little bit different. So mostly yellow. You can see some of these earlier ones here are a little bit brighter of a yellow color. And then some of them will get like a red etching. This one here has a lot of red, but then they kind of fade to this pale yellow, which is still really pretty, but gives you kind of just a variety in a single tulip blend, which is amazing. And our cabbage and kale and all the stuff we planted in the fall is just perking up right along with it. It's just an amazing show. I don't think we could have planned this any better. There are 100 Akebono tulips in here. So there are kind of like 4 quadrants in between the gardenias. We tried to do 25 between each one. And you know, it doesn't really matter what order you plant them in something like this where it's really tight, because they're just going to come up and be beautiful for you. So we really didn't have any other kind of plan other than just trying to get 25 in each little quadrant, but it's really, really beautiful. Brian FaceTimed his mom the other day and she was freaking out because they're so pretty. So let's keep walking. We're gonna head to the back garden to show you some other varieties. Right here, we've got a really pretty pink variety called the Sene blend, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I think we've got 250 in here. So we tried to do, I think there's 150 right here, and then we did just little clumps to kind of continue it along the way, because we've got more stuff planted tightly back there, so we couldn't really do a big showing like this, but we wanted to keep the color going, which kind of draws your eye back, which is nice. These are really cool. They've kind of got that pointed edge going up with a little bit, it looks like someone put a paintbrush with dark pink just going straight up the sides. Now these, again, will come out really bright pink like you can see here, and as they fade, they just get a little bit paler, but still really, really pretty. And this is another one that I was like, I think I want you to plant this right here every year. It's really beautiful. And just looking back this way, which you'll see here in a moment, with the pink, the light yellow, the white, it just makes for like a very beautiful spring blend, which, you know, you're kind of craving at this time of year. You really want some color. So it's important, you know, the white is beautiful, but kind of balancing it with some other lighter colors is just really fun. So back here, you can see how the effect looks different with the clumps, moving into the mass planting, into the pathway. It's just like a really beautiful view. And like I said, we've been coming back here almost every morning and standing in this back corner and just looking. You'll have to overlook the grass. It's obviously a mess right now. We're having a party this afternoon, and then we're gonna seed the grass immediately after. But the flower beds are just looking so nice. And there's a lot of perennials and shrubs and stuff coming up, which really kind of give you that like fresh feeling that I feel like we always get with tulips. But it's really nice to have them mingled in with like the pulmonaria. This is a little Henry. We've got some roses and a spirea. And all of this just like new bright foliage really works with this pink color tulip. I think we did, what, 10 tulips in each hole, each little clump here. Just got the biggest auger we have, dug a hole, popped them in, and there you have it, a little clump. Okay, so here's where it gets real. And this is like our life, I feel like. There's certain areas that look really nice, and then there's other areas where I'm like, well, we got one. So we planted, this is really funny. I think that we planted 25 clear water tulips back here. And like, this is the effect we were going for. Just imagine like this whole thing being little white tulips that are just peeking over the boxwoods, and we got one. I don't know what happened. A lot of these have just like little puny blooms that it looks like they like dried up, which is weird. I don't understand what happened, unless maybe the vole ate the bulb, which I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, here you go. This is what it's like. But the Japanese maple that we transplanted, as you can see, has not skipped a beat. It's doing really well. So maybe we'll try this again next year and see if we have better luck. But anywho, sometimes it just fails. And the failure continues over here. So we planted, I think, 100 of the Mount Tacoma tulips here in what was the old shed bed. And they are really pretty. You get like a little double effect, and they're very short. So these, I think, are probably only about a foot tall, which is why we planted them on the edge. This was before we knew we were connecting everything and all that. So we were thinking these are gonna be on the edge. We'll plant a taller variety behind. And again, just like, look at this. This is the bloom. I don't understand what happened. It's like they dried out, or maybe the bulb was just weak, but we pre-chill them. In the South, as you may or may not know, Tulips are really just like an annual. So we have to plant them every year and they have to be pre-chilled. Tulips really need that cold period so that they can bloom. So these are new tulips. We pre-chilled them. We planted them almost immediately and just crummy showing. But at least we got a couple. Back here we did clumps of the blushing lady tulip. These again are like a taller variety. Very similar, I think, to the Sun-A tulips we did down there. Instead of, you still get that like pink paintbrush effect, but instead of white on the edges, you get this like pale yellow, which I really like. It might be cool to plant this with the Sun-A tulips next year. It'll kind of give us like a little bit of a warmer effect. But again, similar thing here with like, we only got 3. I think we planted 10 bulbs in the clumps and just like a weird showing. I don't know if it's because we warmed up too fast. It has been like 80 degrees every day for the past couple of weeks. So who knows? But the ones we got are pretty. This is just, you know, this is how it is sometimes. And it's frustrating, but that's just gardening for us. Okay, I did also want to show you this view here because I do think this is really pretty. So with the blushing lady tulips and the Bonnie blue spruce, I really, really love this yellow and pink with the blue. It just kind of, they balance each other really well. And I think this kind of speaks to the idea of what we want to plant with the blue spruce. Yellows, peaches, those kind of warmer tones really balance the iciness of the blue spruce and just give you that like wow effect. Because if you plant something here that is blue or purple, it could potentially like disappear with this. But when you plant something warm, this cool background really sets it off nicely. So I will say I was very excited when these came up in front of the spruce because it is really pretty.
Okay, so we're here at the cottage garden at the back of the house, and this year we planted Verchique in this spot, which is a really unique variety for us. We're not usually interested in tulips that look like this, but if you come close, you can see they sort of, they're like spiky blooms. I keep saying they're fingers because they just look like they're sticking up like fingers do, but they're really pretty. So these are super tall. Probably about 1.5 feet tall. And they started out with just this green stripe and white where the pink is now, which was really interesting and pretty, but I was kind of afraid there wouldn't be much color here because the house is white. But just in a few days after that, they started turning this deep, dark pink. And I think it's really, really pretty. I think this is a really unique variety, but I think that it would be a lot better if we had this underplanted maybe with a variety that is a solid color, maybe a bigger bloom, just because I think that it's really interesting, but it probably needs that contrast with it. But I would buy this again, and I think next year, if we do it, we'll do it as a mix. I know that they have several mixes that include this that are really, really pretty, but it is standing super tall and they're so interesting. So a good showing this year for sure. Okay, so back here behind me, we have this little corner garden that we usually have our David Austin roses in, and I know we're doing some work here. So we have this tree that you don't see yet. This is gonna be planted in a few weeks, and we have our creeping phlox here that are sort of sparkling. I think that's so pretty. But we planted the same variety over here that we planted in the cottage bed, the Verchique, and like Tyler was saying, some of these came and some of them didn't. And so we're not sure what happened this year, but it would have been a much better showing if they'd come in super, super full. So next year, we're gonna watch them super close, and maybe if we do a mix, we'll get most of them coming up, or at least a better, fuller showing rather than just a few of them. So we've also done a lot of work in the garden this year, so that may have disturbed them in some way, but that's okay. Okay, so let's go into the Union garden now, which you guys can see our plant hoard back here in the corner. We're having this party today, so we straightened it up a little bit. But over here, we planted a purple and white variety as a mix, and we planted in clumps this year. And I do think it's really pretty, especially when you're looking out of the bathroom window, which is a view that we get a lot here, looking out into the garden. And I think that that's really, really pretty. But I will say it just isn't giving as much as we wanted it to give. In past years, we have filled this up and planted individually, and it has been just such a massive show because you get to walk down the aisle here and you get the full showing in the whole garden. So I think that we'll probably go back to doing that next year. The clumps are gorgeous. They're like little bouquets around the garden, and I think that's pretty, but I think next year we're going to go big and we'll probably plant these in the whole garden. But we usually plant purple and white over here because that's usually the theme of this garden. And these are some beautiful tulips. These clumps came up a lot better than the rest of the clumps in the garden that we planted though. All right, guys, so we are going to go get ready for our party. There's going to be lots of people here soon discovering the tulips in the garden, which is something that we just love. We love having people over and letting them discover gardening the way that we have discovered it. But next year, we will have a little bit of a different view here. So next year, we're going to plant all of this new space up with tulips, and I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. But this year, we had such a great showing of the tulips, and I know all of our neighbors have been stopping and telling us how much they enjoy it. So hopefully our friends will enjoy it later at the party.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.